Oh yeah, Danny Radford, how you doing? All right.
You all right? How are you getting on?
Yeah, not bad, mate. Are you still at work at the moment? Are you offshore?
I'm actually in my library at the minute, so I've doing plenty of reading, getting all the knowledge that I need for the book release.
So, Danny, me and you have both written books.
Yeah,
So, I vowed never to do it again. It took me 3 years to do it.
yeah, yeah,
However, you've wrote a new book and you've got a new book ready to come out. So,
yeah,
I
yeah,
guess the first thing is tell us about your new book.
yeah. Well, it's a strange story, mate, because it was actually my original Facebook that I'd written. So while I was a lot of years ago, I had a lot of free time on my hands, so I ended up writing my book, and then I self-published at the time, which was a bit of a ropey business back then. There was like one website where you could do it, and there's never any really checks or anything like that. So I kind of released it just as a bit of a sample, really, to see if anything I was writing was actually any good, if people was receptive towards it.
Yeah.
So what I did was I released the book. It got a fairly decent reception. Obviously, few criticisms because of the spelling and grammar. But the reason I've re-released it is because now with technology being as it is, AI and things like that, it's corrected the spelling and the grammar and it's got rid of it and obviously cleared my dyslexia right up. So
I
basically,
was
I've been
going to
able to read.
say, because you've got dyslexia, yeah? When
Yeah,
did you, was that diagnosed at school? Was it after school
no,
you got it?
completely missed, totally missed, and it wasn't until I released my second book that they picked up on it. It was the publisher itself what picked it up, so it was them what came forward and said, "Did you know? Why didn't you tell us you had it?" And my reason was because I didn't know I had it.
Wow.
So they came forward and was like, "Yep, you've definitely all the markers, everything else, you've definitely got it." So I kind of revisited my old book because I thought there's a lot of improvements that could be made and a lot of things I can do with it. The idea itself originally it was a very very dark book, which it is. There's no getting away from that. And I kind of revisited, and I was going to try and release it under a pseudonym, but then after rereading it, I kind of thought, well, I'm actually quite proud of this. It's a decent bit of work, and I'm looking forward to actually putting it out there to other people and see what they think. And it is, it's a yeah, it's somewhat what might be quite shocking, but it's also something that I think potentially could be a bit of an eye opener for people in for their own trauma and things like that, Nick. So yeah,
Can you then give us a rundown of the book without giving too much away to any potential buyers? What is the
yeah,
book about?
yeah, so it basically starts off. The first chapter more or less captures it. Really, it's a bloke called Wes Radcliffe. The name is picked for a reason, and that comes to light a little bit later on. He wakes up in his prison cell. It turns out, I mean, it's part of the blurb on the back that he's in there, but he shouldn't be in there. Bit of a misunderstanding. And while he's on remand, he goes to sleep on his first night in there, and there's a flash and is very acutely aware that he's stood in a different room and is a different person and is something's happening with it, but it's not like a dream, it's more realistic. He can smell, he can taste, he's got everything. And I obviously won't spoil it or anything else, but the person who is actually observing through commits like a heinous crime in front of Wes, who's is a very innocent party, I guess, in this, and he's forced to watch it and he's flashing backwards and forwards between the dream, trying to get up and get away from what is his own mind, I guess. And
Right?
the book takes a bit of a turn from there, really. So as he's going through his early stages of prison sentence, where he's been mild mannered and everything else, his dreams are turning him into something different, which is more suitable for the prison environment. And it
Right.
goes from there. There's things that happen, and there's twists and turns. Let's put it that way.
Well, I was going to say, because your first book, well, your second book, but your first one,
Yeah,
Print,
yeah,
Killers Upon Hull,
yeah.
that went dark in places,
Yeah,
didn't it?
and this one was worse. To be fair, the original one, what I'd released, and then this one again, I would say is darker. And it was more of a factor of the Killers Upon Hull went to a bigger audience, and the reception I got was it was dark, but people liked it, and it was and I kind of for myself, I want to explore the in depth of the man where there is something wrong. There's definitely something you shouldn't be doing or you shouldn't be reading, but there's part of you that's not fully disgusted with it. Killers Upon Hull, part of that, I mean, there was, without again giving too much away on that, was there was a hero, if you like, and a
Yeah.
villain. But when you start reading it, the actual hero himself's a bit of an anti hero and he's not as clean cut as you think, but you're rooting for him all the way through And
Yeah,
potentially the same with this one. Obviously, I don't want to give anything away, but yeah, again, same thing. Although it's a bad environment and it's bad things happening, and you're still kind of you're seeing a bit like a Jekyll and Hyde thing. You're seeing like an internal battle of yourself where you're still kind of rooting for the person who's not entirely good.
yeah.
And I
I
am
remember the
exploring.
twist. Sorry, Danny. I remember the twist at the end of Killers Upon Hull.
Yeah,
Uh, I didn't see that one coming.
no, yeah,
But I
that's
do
good.
remember some of the scenes in the book, and I think I went your back to back after that because all this
Yeah,
comes out of your head, doesn't it? So, I was,
that's
so
been
I
said a few
guess
times. Yeah,
how are we? Are you heading for a new Stephen King type of thing, or is this your genre, or you know what I mean? Where are you sitting with it? Are we going to see a comedy come down the line from you later on, maybe?
I honestly don't know, Mick. To be fair, because I started writing children's books and stuff like that for my daughter when she was younger. But then it kind of the biggest thing for me was AI ruined most of that because your creativity and your nature and everything is what you could put. Like literally, you could put your book in to because obviously you've written yourself. You could put
Yeah,
your book in and say, write me a sequel to this, and within 30 seconds, you've got a sequel. And
yeah,
it, you'll know yourself. You said it. It takes a long time to put pen to paper and to get the ideas, to get it correct in the correct manner and what you think's acceptable and everything else. And for something to just do it there and then,
yeah.
yeah, it takes the fruit out of it. Really, I guess it takes the flavour out of it.
So I can't even agree with that. I had a speech. AI did a speech for me
Yeah,
yesterday. I won't go into details on that, but it took
yeah,
5 or 10 seconds, and
exactly. Yeah,
it was very good
yeah,
for what I needed. And I just added a little bit myself and the personal touches, but it did
yeah,
get me thinking. Like, this
yeah.
is what
Oh, it's
is
going to be
the
level. Yeah,
impact of this for writers?
definitely. Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, you can see it yourself in the music industry. They're complaining about that at the moment. They're having a big set tour with a band. What's created is fully AI generated. But if I put it on for you, you would honestly think it was a band from the 70s, and you'd start looking at the discography because that's what you're expecting. But it's completely not. It's an AI made band and everything. So, although yeah, there is still room for creativity, and you've got to ask it the right questions and put the right ideas in, like you said, make your own personal touches and everything else. But it
Yeah.
kind of spoils the
So,
idea. So this is why I went back to my original book because this was it was mine. It was what I'd put out and it was what I'd gone through. So yeah, it's definitely it's going to be something different. I think.
so we'll touch on that in a minute. But how old were you? I'm interested to know when you started writing this particular book.
Yeah, this was Christ must be 15, 16 years ago maybe. And yeah, I think yeah, what will it been? It will have been about 16 years ago, I think, maybe that. And the full reason was I was reading. I was reading a lot, and then I was getting to books, and again this falls into the category, but I was getting to midway through a book, which I knew would have a twist in the end because it was a thriller, and I was guessing the twist at the end. And for me, I kind of sat there and I thought I could maybe write this, and I want to write something what's got a twist, like you say, what you didn't see coming, or
So
everybody.
how did you start then with? Because I was total novice, still am.
Yeah,
Didn't have the ending, but it sounds
yeah,
like you knew the twist and potentially where it was going, and then you worked
yeah,
backwards, did you?
yeah. That was it. I kind of came on the characters, and then it was sort of like I was thinking, well, what could be the most surprising thing that I could put for this character to go through, and what could be the lead up to that, and little by little, I just throw a story in there. I mean, for me, I'm one of these people. If I'm on say, a treadmill or I'm doing like a drive where it's boring, my mind will just wander and it'll just go to places, and I'll come up with ideas and stuff like this. And I suppose
Yeah.
I don't know if that's a good thing or bad thing, but obviously it's hopefully it's a good thing for the book. But yeah, so I kind of just I come up with a twist because I want something to be shocking, defining. I want people to go away from, and I have had that a couple of times where people have come out and gone, "Christ, that ended." I kept thinking about it and stuff, and a bit like a good movie. If you come away from a film and you're still thinking about it after the credits are rolled, then it's been a successful film as far as I'm concerned, good or bad.
So you've sent me a copy,
Yeah.
um, but it isn't published yet, is it? Or is it published now? Is it out, or is it getting published?
It's due out on the 25th. They're just going through the final process of it. It's going through a publishing company called Toro Publishing. They'll be hopefully releasing some more because the company's set up for the smaller people who, you'll know yourself, Mick, same as I do. Trying to get
Yeah,
published is a nightmare, an
yeah,
absolute nightmare.
yeah.
It's companies, they don't even get back to you half the time. What they will do is they'll come back and they'll say, well, what you're writing about is not what we're representing and things like that. So the company itself making it easier for the smaller people, if that makes sense. Not for your Stephen Kings to sort of
Yeah.
because I understand. I genuinely believe everybody's got a story. You'll know yourself if you said to somebody, "I've written a book." The first thing they will say was, "I've got an idea for a book," or "I've got
Yeah.
this for a book," and they compare it to themselves. I kind of sit there thinking, well, why don't you then? Why don't you put it down? Because your writing style, your definitions will tap into somebody else.
I ask. Well, I tell people at some point, yeah, I've written a book,
Yeah,
um, but then it's kind of a bit of surprise at that. Like, and
yeah,
I try to think what the driver was to go and
yeah,
do it.
yeah, for
Um,
yourself.
yeah, like why? I think there was a bit of non-believers who
Yeah,
said, what you're doing, and I'll show you type of thing, like a bit
yeah,
of a fight,
yeah,
and I'll prove you wrong
yeah,
type of thing.
yeah, definitely.
Uh,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Particularly my English teacher, I think. So, what was the driver for you?
Again, it was just to put stuff because I've always enjoyed writing. I've always enjoyed little bits, and I enjoy reading like the classic books and things like that. I've always yeah, I kind of enjoy the process, and when I did start writing it again, it was purely the basis of I thought I could give this a try. I think I could come up with a story, or I could come up with some kind of tale. And when I started writing it, I loved the process. You know yourself, when you get sat down and you've got some music on and you just start writing and you just get lost. Hours go, hours disappear, but you've really enjoyed like the sort of thing itself. And especially this day and age, when everybody's just sat scrolling through the screens on the phone, it gives me
Oh,
something else that felt productive.
100%. So I don't think my teenage kids, have picked up a book,
No,
but they will
exactly.
scroll for hours on the screens, and there's something wrong there, I think.
People go, I don't really read that much. You think, well, but you've just read about 50 memes in the
Yeah,
time we've been speaking. So you think there is, yeah, again, same thing. I think it's a bit of a lost art or a dying art because, again, same thing. Those kids that don't pick up a book could now write a book with certain AI programs.
yeah. So you said you read quite a bit,
Yeah,
so that was sparking you. I think you've got to pick up the right book and
yeah,
be
definitely.
interested in it to
Yeah,
invest in
yeah,
it. So
yeah.
what would you say? And you can't pick your own here. What was your favourite book? What was the one book that you went, wow, I'm loving this reading. I need more
The
of
first
this.
thing for me, honestly, the first thing for me was when I left school. Obviously, I was unaware that I had dyslexia. So when I was at school, I just got put in the daft classes. I mean, I don't mean that derogatory to anybody, but it was the Nancy's version of daft, where it was like misbehaved and people never had ADHD then and things like that. You just got put in a class what was like literally the teacher just kept an eye on you. You didn't really do anything. So I got put into those sorts of classes. So I never got into my reading. I mean, there was reading because my dad used to read books to me when I was little and stuff like that, and it was like your Oscar Wilde and things like that. So I really got into like the classical like book style. I really enjoyed those sort of things, and when I left school, I ended up going to I had to do a HNC, get a qualification for obviously working offshore, and I'd be left in Scotland up for the weekend and things like that, and I didn't have much to do, and I literally picked up a book, and I can't forget the book itself. It's Fight Club. I picked that book up and I read it, and it blew me away.
Yeah,
Fact of obviously because I loved the film. The film was like groundbreaking, but the book itself, I loved reading it. And then after that, it was like, well, actually, I might just get another one. And then I just started digesting them bit by bit, and it was
yeah,
again same thing back in that will have been 2001, 2002. That was 2001 anyway. Yeah, I can remember that year.
yeah.
It was 2001, and I just so you didn't have your phones, you didn't have your things. So like literally, unless you was watching something on TV, you had nothing else to do while you was there, especially being a student on very low wages.
Yeah, like I said, just reiterating that, I think that's important as well. Like you've got to get into the book early, haven't you?
Yeah,
You know,
no,
otherwise
definitely.
you're going to get bored. You're going to put it down like the kids
But
do.
yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah,
so
yeah. And especially in like this day and age, it's 15-second attention spans in it. So yeah, unless you're gripped, and
so
I always kind of maintain.
without the previous publisher I had,
Mm,
they handed the book out to various people to
yeah,
read before they accepted it in. You know, it had to be somewhere near or had to be able workable,
yeah,
editable.
yeah,
So this publishing company that you're with now, have they
yeah.
had copies of the book? Have they gone through the book and
Yeah, yeah, they've gone through it, yeah. And like I say, the advantage I've got is that the fact the book's already been pre-released before and was already recepted. The reception was really good. So I've got that standing for it already. So that's been a bit of a jump for us, like getting to that point where you kind of know if you release it again, there's already 10, 20, 30 people out there what like the book.
right?
So yeah, that's really helped. I think it's give me confidence as well because you'll know yourself, Mick. When you're putting yourself out there, it's a different kettle of fish. Do you know what I mean? Because there's a level of vulnerability where it's like you say, it's your imagination, it's your thoughts, it's people looking at you like that as if to say, "What is he thinking?" And
Yeah.
you get it and hear it all the time. So there's that level of vulnerability, but knowing already that people have been receptive towards it, yeah, it's given me a bit of a confidence boost in that sense. So
Yeah, I used to love receiving feedback. I used to come alive, especially if it was positive feedback. I used to love that.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
People ask.
Negative.
I did have some negative feedback as well, which in the early days I didn't take very well. You know,
No, because it's precious, isn't it? It's your baby, isn't it? You know what I mean? It's your
it is. I think the internet now, though, and all the trolling anyway. I think people are thicker
yeah,
skinned now than
yeah, definitely,
we used
yeah,
back
without
then.
that.
But the
Yeah,
people who've read it and fed back to you then. So what I've done is I've wrote a few questions down that have been asked to me
yeah,
over the
yeah,
years.
yeah.
So I'm just gonna, if you see me glancing down, I'm just going to give you those. But what's the question that no one has ever asked about the book, but you wish that they would?
Is any of it true?
Right.
That's one of them because they're so right about what you know and things like that. And yeah, I like skating around the danger side of it because you never really know if it is or it isn't. There's certain things what happen within the book. Maybe allegedly there might have happened previously, but
I think
that's
you've answered
it's the
that.
it's the mysterious element about it, Mick. So yeah, it's yeah, I enjoy it. I do enjoy that side of it. And again, like you, it's a creative side that you like expressing and knowing that some of it's factual is yeah, it kind of makes a bit of a better element to it. Let's
So I'm
put it
going to
that way.
say some of us. So I'm just going to answer that as yes. And if that's the case, what is the most uncomfortable truth in the book?
Yeah, I mentioned it before. I think it's because sometimes it can hold up a reflection to people, and it's because there's weakness in there and there's vulnerability in there, and it's people being in a scary situation, and it's in them moments, not everybody's an hero, and even though in your head you build up this thing, you've got that cower inside of you and everything else, and it's facing that reality. I think that's what I want people to sort of to see. What it's acceptable. When you're reading them books, you read it yourself, a million of them, especially like people that are into like Lord of the Rings and everything else. Everybody's a hero. There's a little bit where they face a bit of a challenge and then but then become a better person at the end of it, and they do this and do that. And I kind of I wanted to show like a bit of a mirror up to people to say that it's you've got that vulnerability side of you. And not always will you be that heroic person.
That's just life, isn't it? I suppose.
Of course,
Like that's
yeah,
that's
100%. And unless people are put to the metal in to the test, you'll never really see that of yourself. And I guess this book kind of shows that in them situations, you could be one side of the coin where you're full force forward, let's go for this, or you could be the other side of it, i.e., Wes, where he's very much like vomit inducing fear and things like this. And
right. Okay.
so the
Um,
duality, man, I guess.
so I guess with the truth in there, and there's a little bit of yourself in the book, and I know what it takes to write it and the experiences. Which part of writing this book then changed you, Danny, the most?
I would definitely say it was again the original side of it was the fact that from what was an idea in my head and from what got put onto paper and me just sat writing originally to putting it out there and people being receptive towards it completely changed my outlook on my own writing ability. Um, it showed that people was interested in what I was putting down and it wasn't just the rantings of a madman. Uh, it was something people wanted to read and that was the biggest thing for me and it gave me confidence for my second book. Same, exactly the same.
I still think you're the madman after reading the second book, mate.
I think it's even worse after this one. Trust me.
Well, it's on me next. It's on me to do list next. I've just
Fair
been
enough.
so
Yeah.
busy, but I am going to pick it up and I'll.
I know if I
I'll
try and ring you and the number's blocked, I'll know it's.
yeah, yeah, that'll be it, mate. Yeah. So, was there a moment in the writing where you felt like you'd said something you probably shouldn't in the book?
A lot, a love a lot, Mick. Yeah, yeah. There's like I said, there's a lot of graphic details in there. There's the squelching noises of certain things that shouldn't make that type of noise, and there's especially. I've had to put a disclaimer at the front of the book to basically say it could induce trauma and stuff like that because the dream version of himself is not a good character, and that's purposely done. I
Yeah.
want people to have that sort of effect, to be disgusted, and to do that, you've got to show certain elements to people. You think of all the great films and everything else. When they introduce a villain, the first thing that villain's doing is something diabolical, something
Yeah.
horrendous. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, don't get me wrong. There might be a twist where some they come good at the end and things like that, but it was going to them depths, and it's literally within the first two or three chapters. You're gritting your teeth and you're disgusted. But
Yeah.
again, perfectly done.
So it was more to do with the detail that you've describing the scenes of things
Yeah,
that level of
100%. It does
writing.
become comfortable. And again, like I've given it to a reader, and they said it kind of triggered a bit of a trauma response for them. And I fully don't want that to happen to people, but at the same time, I'm glad it did because it showed that it's got that effect.
Right. I think I won't read this one tonight then.
Yeah, yeah. Do it during the day. Keep your lights on and everything.
If this book were ever banned, if it was ever
Yeah,
banned, why would that be?
all of it. No, again, like I said, because it's quite triggering. There is some parts in there what are quite graphic, and I think again maybe because somebody finds out that some details are correct, you can't make profit off crime proceeds. So, so yeah, that might be the case.
Brilliant. Okay. So, one of the questions that came out: what do you hope a reader feels that makes them uncomfortable when they're reading it? So,
Yeah, yeah. Again, before I think there's the two things. There's the trauma because again, I'm one of them believers that if you have got it, it needs to be shown, to basically to work your way through it. But also as well the fact that they found themselves sympathising with people within the book who are not nice characters. They're not nice people, but at the same time, you're confronting that sort of element of that it's not a fully bad person. They're not a terrible person. Again, like an anti-hero type thing.
right.
That's one of the sort of things I wanted to sort of highlight if I could as well within the writing.
Does this book push boundaries?
Definitely, yeah, definitely. That is safe to say. Definitely, yes. Like I said, a certain person who's read it, they said it was quite emotional for them.
Really?
And again, and I don't want people being in an uncomfortable emotional state. I never would, but it's reassuring to hear that it's had that effect on it. You know what I mean? If you see somebody crying in the cinema, again, if you're a director or whatever, you'd probably think that that's a good thing. So yeah, I do think it will, and I think there'll be certain people who read it and go, I'm not reading that anymore, or
No,
uh,
right.
yeah, and I definitely had that from when I first released it, even from family members. They basically got to the point and it was like, well, I didn't want to carry on reading after that point. So yeah,
So this was your first book, wasn't it? That you
hmm
wrote and then sat on the shelf, and then the second one came out and got published.
yeah,
But
yeah, yeah.
did your effort all go into here? Did all these emotions and ideas? Was it quite intense? I guess writing the book yourself compared to the second one, or were you old hat at the
Yeah,
second one?
it did, yeah, because again, whereas the Killers One Hull one kind of it's got its sweet moments towards the end. Obviously, I don't want to again spoil anything, but it's got its human nature side where kind of things seem to sort of level out a little bit. Whereas this one, I mean, to be honest, it's been compared to Scum, the movie.
Right.
Things like Clockwork Orange and stuff like that, where there's no dividing line, and it's quite impactful and things like that. So yeah, whereas the first one had quite like a touching nature towards the end, this one definitely does not have that. So there is elements, obviously, there's definitely elements in it, dark comedy, all that sort of stuff.
It's good you've pitched it there with Scum because it kind of gives us where to pitch it in along the lines of
Yeah,
Clockwork
exactly.
Oranges,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
it's sat in
It,
there, isn't it? So
Yeah, it's definitely it's British grit. Do you know what I mean? It's that sort of if somebody was from a different country, if an American was reading it, they maybe wouldn't be able to get
yeah,
how grit and the gram and
yeah.
that sort of like that key elements what we sort of see in the UK and kind of take not for granted, but you kind of get a bit war torn with it, really, I guess.
So Killers Upon Hull was based in Hull, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Obviously.
yeah,
So local people might get some of the street names, although it was back in the 1800s.
yeah, yeah.
Is this one a more far-reaching place? You don't need to be local to this one.
It
This is a
kind of
bit,
yeah, again, another thing for Hull, we've got a prison, and it starts off in Hull prison. But again, it doesn't actually need to be referenced within any place. It could be any prison within the UK. And the streets, what I mentioned afterwards, there could be any street mentioned within the UK. It could be anywhere in the UK.
yeah,
Again, with it being in prison, there's times where you've got localized slang. and stuff like that, or
Yeah,
outreaching enough, like the Scousers and stuff like that. You
yeah.
kind of pick up on them elements. So it could be anywhere. Do you know what I mean? It could be anywhere within the UK, I guess. But yeah, it's definitely specific to that.
Because that was probably a mistake I made. My book was based on Teesside, and
Yeah,
all the slang was Teesside as well, the way it was written. So people
yeah.
from
But again, that's
Teesside tend to enjoy it. People
yeah,
further afield didn't quite understand some of
yeah,
it.
yeah,
So
yeah. That's got its own charming element as well, hasn't it? Do you know what I mean? It's there's people who appreciate that sort of northern aspect to it because you'll be the same as me, Mick. When I watch a film and it's an American-made film, it's got British people in it. We're all from London.
yeah,
It's all Cockney gangsters.
yeah,
There's only our people down in London, and this is the only time you ever see it. Is this? It's only,
yeah.
but obviously when they get the up north, there's that many different regions and stuff, and localized. Don't get me wrong, Peaky Blinders maybe turned it around a little bit and put the Birmingham accent in there, but nobody else speaks like people from Birmingham. So
No,
if you're watching, like say, a movie or you're reading a book from somewhere else and they ever mention somebody from England, it's the Cockney accent. It's that, and that I kind of find a bit frustrating, especially
yeah. Most
being
of the mobsters have all got the Cockney accent, haven't they? I guess.
everything. Yeah, honestly, yeah, and until you start realizing it in movies, you don't realize how prevalent it is. It's
Yeah,
very, and if it's ever people from up north, it's usually Scousers, or or they sound absolutely thick,
yeah. Oh,
and it gets quite weird.
it's like
Yeah,
I've probably done it out of laziness, though. To be honest, it was because I knew if I mentioned to my neighbour, for example, a name of a pub, the Southern Cross down the road, then
yeah, yeah.
immediately he can picture
No,
it, can't he?
no,
So
exactly. Yeah,
I don't have to detail it out to him because I've already said it's
exactly.
the Southern Cross
Yeah,
pub. So he
yeah,
goes
yeah,
there. So it was probably a little bit laziness and a bit of a cheat to get
yeah,
people on side. But I did know when I took it to work, yeah, I think
yeah.
someone actually commented, bit local. So anyway,
Local people.
did the writing of your book challenge any of your own long-held beliefs?
Yeah, I don't know if I've ever mentioned this before, but I was influenced massively by a book called The Ginger Man, and it was the first time I ever read a book where you didn't have to like the main character. Up until that point, again, it was like Sherlock Holmes, and it was all the main fluffy people, and it was like the main character was, oh, it's great, he's done this, he's done that. But when you read The Ginger Man, I can't remember, I think it was J.P. Donlevy who wrote it. You do not like the main character. The greatest name in the world, by the way, it's Sebastian Dangerfield. And he's a dislikable human being. He's abusive to women. He's a thief. He's a blackguard. You know what I mean? He's terrible. But you enjoy the book because, again, same thing. It shows these sides of human nature that it's not all fluffy and rosy and stuff like that. And although it was an old-fashioned book, it still had the same traits of human nature, I guess. So yeah,
So that's embedded itself in you, then, hasn't it? That psyche,
yeah,
if
yeah,
that's the book that you've come back to, and it
yeah,
sounds quite a bit of your book kind of follows that format.
yeah.
Is that fair to say?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, 100%. And I like exploring these sides of things. I like going through that sort of. Yeah, when people do sort of question morality and things like that, I like that thought provoking side of it. So it's been a challenge to sort of try and keep it a little under wraps.
Well, I'm laughing because you've talked about this book here, and it's a bit obscure for me. I've personally not heard of it, and you're going
Yeah.
back. And I was reading Bravo 2 to come up with mine. You know what I mean? So it was
So again,
that
you've got your hero. Yeah.
how I got into books was through I was reading lots of military books, and that was
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
first one I ever read was Immediate Action. Obviously,
Yeah.
that was
Yeah.
the Andy McNab thing, and then Bravo
Yeah.
Two was and all that carry on, and that's
Yeah.
how I started reading. It was, I guess, it was basic English language. To be honest with you, it
Yeah.
was
Go on. Yeah.
So it's interesting that I'm just thinking, oh, crikey, Mick, how embarrassing. And then I wrote this really wild and crazy comedy, but you've actually
Yeah.
got like a method and someone has inspired you to it all, you know what I mean? Which is probably why you've gone on to be a writer and I'm still stuck on one book. But that
I won't
says
go
more
that
about
far.
me than it does you, mate.
I think that's maybe been just sat inside here, just waiting to get out, Mick. And again, the duality of man, it's needed to escape. Bit of Jekyll and Hyde.
If so, dark twists, people getting upset potentially, disclaimers
Yeah,
on the front. So if someone is intimidated by the idea of this book,
yeah.
what would you say to convince them that it's actually this is for you?
again, it's exploring that side of it. It's taking the book pushes. It certainly did me, but it pushed people out of comfort zones, and I'm a firm believer. It's in the back of the acknowledgements. You need to be out of your comfort zone, and you speak to people who know yourself. They'll go, "I only read autobiographies," and you think, well, that's fine, it's great, and everyone's got their own sort of genre and that. But unless you're reading the different aspects, like music, unless you listen to everything, you'll never find out what you do and don't like.
Yeah,
So although like I say it is dark, but it's definitely you've got to sort of push yourself, I think, out of your comfort zone now and again, and you're never sort of in a sort of an element where you're too far out of your comfort zone, if you like. So
I think our
yeah,
lass would love it. Our lass loves dark horrors and
yeah,
all and
yeah,
suspense and stuff like that. She
cool.
watches all that stuff, so it's
Yeah, well, she
definitely.
does leave a review on Amazon.
Yeah, I'll tell her that. Yeah, she can
Good
buy it,
pub.
mate. I won't
Yeah,
pass
yeah,
it on. So the last question I've got on my list here, mate, is what's the one question you'd love the listener, I should say reader, I guess, to
yeah.
ask themselves after hearing about your book? So what's the one question you'd love the reader to ask themselves after hearing about your book?
Am I ready for this?
Like to unlimited.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, putting the theme music onto it. But yeah, am I? Am I? Yeah, am I prepared to go to them sort of lengths, them depths, if you like. I guess that is one thing, especially hearing about it and stuff like that. Are you willing to push yourself out of a comfort zone? Because again, it might not be for everybody. You say for your missus, probably, but for other people, I don't think it wouldn't jump out as like oh, definitely, yeah, but it's not to like sort of categorize it in just all it is you can be murders and rapes and all that sort of stuff. I'd want them to sort of question, am I ready? And I'll give it a go.
It's genuinely like compelled, you know what I mean? Because
Yeah,
you've described it in so many ways. It's like, well, I now feel now I need to put my other book down I'm reading,
yeah,
pick this
yeah,
one up and see what this is all about. You know what I mean? So I'll it's definitely compelled me to go and pick it up, mate. And I'll feed you back. Obviously, we work together anyway, so I can just feed that back when I see it. But second book, any more coming out after this one, or have you got any ideas
no,
lurking?
not kicking about McNaugh's. No, I think we've got there's a little bits and bobs. I think just pottering about at the minute. Obviously, I want to try and help out with the publishing company and see where that goes. Obviously, hope that leads to something better. But yeah, as it is at the minute, again with the AI aspect, I don't think it's really it's not looking to grow or like nature, the sort of creative side in that element. So yeah, I kind of want to try and push this one through. That was the only aspect what kind of let me down with the first one was back in the day. We never had, well, I never had the sort of the
Yeah.
Facebook side of it and everything else. It was very low advertised. So I kind of want to just see how far I can go with this one. And I think if it affects people, that's a good thing. And I kind of want to try and try and outreach it as much as I possibly can.
Oh, man, like honestly, I wish you nothing but success with it. I know how
Yeah,
difficult
appreciate
it
that.
is to sell
Yeah,
books, but it sounds like the podcast and everything, and this is all
yeah,
new, this type of thing, and the AI as you mentioned. So get it out
yeah.
there. I'll certainly share it for you, and
Brilliant, much
wish you
appreciated,
all
mate.
the luck
Thank
in
you.
the world, mate.
Brilliant, much appreciated, Mick. Thank you very much for that, pal.
All right, mate. You take it easy, eh?
You as well. See you soon, mate. Try, mate.
Ta-ra, mate. Bye bye.